The docking ring had been repaired so many times it no longer remembered what it was originally supposed to hold together. Metal plates overlapped like anxious thoughts, weld lines glowed faintly where budget cuts had replaced proper sealing. Somewhere inside the structure, an alarm chirped every 7 minutes, not because anything was wrong, but because it had developed a personality disorder and nobody had the authority to correct it. Jace was inside panel Bay 12 when the alien woman arrived. He was upside down, feet hooked into a maintenance rail, one hand inside a control console that kept insisting it was emotionally unavailable. The console had been installed by the Zalthurian Empire, which explained a lot and solved nothing. "Come on," Jace muttered. "Just reroute the thermal loop, it's not a moral decision." The console blinked red, then blue, then offended. Behind him, the airlock hissed open with ceremonial precision that suggested someone important had just entered and expected the universe to applaud. It did not. Instead, a floating toolbox bumped into the doorway and quietly apologized in 3 different dialects before drifting away. Jace twisted himself around midair, smacking his helmet lightly against the rail. "If this is another inspection, I swear I'll report myself for being inspected too often." She stood there. At first glance, she looked human. That was the most unsettling part. The second most unsettling part was that she didn't move like someone who had ever needed to ask where the restroom was. Her posture was too exact, like gravity had signed a contract with her personally. And then there were the ears. Long, elegant, slightly curved, like they were listening to something the rest of reality had not been invited to hear. They shifted subtly as she scanned the bay, twitching once when a loose bolt floated past her face like it was late for an appointment. "Maintenance technician Jace Rell?" she asked. Her voice carried the tone of someone used to issuing orders to star systems. Jace squinted. "Depends, are you here to fire me or promote me? Because I only prepared emotionally for one of those." A pause, her ears tilted a fraction. "Neither," she said. "That's worse," Jace replied immediately. "That's like docking fees, unexpected and emotionally aggressive." She stepped inside. The airlock tried to bow, failed, and rebooted itself out of embarrassment. "I am Commander Viral of the Zalthurian Strategic Oversight Division," she continued. Jace waved with the hand not currently inside a complaining console. "Cool. I'm Jace of Please Stop Breaking every 3rd hour. We have very different ranks but similar stress levels." One of the floating maintenance drones drifted between them, paused, and projected a small holographic sign that read, "This conversation has potential for incident." Viral ignored it. That was either discipline or denial. She looked at the console. "This station's thermal regulation system is unstable." "It has opinions," Jace corrected. "It is malfunctioning. It is emotionally unstable," Jace insisted. "We talked about this." The console beeped in agreement, then immediately contradicted itself. Viral's ears twitched again. "Your report suggests you have been talking to the infrastructure. Helps morale," Jace said. "Also helps when it decides not to explode out of spite." A silence stretched. In that silence, somewhere deep in the docking ring, a pipe burst into applause and then stopped abruptly when no one joined in. Viral raised her hand. A thin holographic interface unfolded in the air like a disciplined thought. "I am assigned to evaluate human operational resilience," she said. "Ah," Jace nodded. "So you're the new stress tester. Welcome. We are currently rated technically alive but spiritually questionable." One of her ears flicked upward. "That is not an official classification." "It should be," Jace said. "We've earned it." She walked deeper into the bay, her gaze moving across the chaotic architecture. Panels hung open like they were mid-conversation. A gravity regulator hummed uncertainly. A sign flickered, "Do not panic. This is normal." Below it, someone had scribbled, "Lie." Viral stopped near a conduit. "Why is this section labeled Do Not Open, Probable Existential Risk?" Jace followed her gaze. "Oh, that, yeah, we stopped asking." "You stopped asking what?" "Questions," Jace said. "Questions led to the thing in their learning language, then it started correcting our grammar. We decided ignorance was safer." The maintenance drone behind them beeped proudly as if it had contributed to that decision. Viral stared at him for a long moment, then unexpectedly her ears dipped slightly. "That is inefficient." "Yeah," Jace agreed, "but it's ours." For the first time, her expression shifted, just a fraction, like a star adjusting its brightness without permission. A siren chirped in the background. The console Jace had been working on finally made a decision and immediately regretted it. An alarm voice announced, "Thermal core realignment initiated. This may or may not be a good idea." Jace groaned. "Oh no, not the may or may not setting, that's the worst one." Viral turned sharply. "You initiated a core realignment without authorization?" "I didn't initiate it," Jace said quickly. "It initiated itself, I was just emotionally supporting it." The system shuddered. Somewhere below them, something large began to rotate in a direction it had never rotated before. Viral lifted her hand again, her interface expanded. "Step away from the console," she ordered. Jace hesitated. "Is this the part where you arrest me or the part where you help me not die?" Her ears flicked sharply. "The second," she admitted. "Nice," Jace said. "Teamwork, I like teamwork, it usually involves less dying." She moved beside him, analyzing the console with rapid precision. Symbols unfolded in the air like structured lightning. She spoke under her breath in a language that made the maintenance drone briefly consider retirement. Jace leaned closer. "Do all aliens talk like that, or is it just Officer Edition?" "It is efficient," she said. "It sounds like your words are trying to outrun each other." "They are not." "They kind of are." Her ears twitched again. Faster this time, Jace pointed at one of the interface nodes. "Try that switch. That is a memory suppression node. Even better, the system is remembering bad ideas again." She hesitated for half a second. That was the first time Jace noticed hesitation in her. She pressed it. The station went silent. Then the alarm stopped. Then the console sighed. Then very politely it said, "Apologies, I have been overreacting." Jace blinked. Did the station just apologize?" Viral slowly lowered her hand. "It should not have that function." "It has a lot of functions it shouldn't have," Jace said. "That's kind of our brand." A pause, the maintenance drone projected. "Incident resolved with minimal philosophical damage." Viral looked at Jace again, more carefully this time. Her ears angled slightly toward him as if recalibrating something invisible. "You are not what I expected," she said. "Same," Jace replied. "I thought you'd be taller or at least more likely to explode something by standing near it. That is not standard behavior. Neither is my job, technically." Another silence, but different this time. Less mechanical, more uncertain. Somewhere deep in the station, the gravity system briefly inverted, then pretended it didn't happen. Viral stepped back toward the airlock. "I will be observing your operations," she said. Jace gave a small salute. "Cool, I'll try not to represent humanity too accurately, we tend to be embarrassing on short notice." She paused at the threshold, her ears flicked once more, softer now. "Try," she said. And then she left as precisely as she had arrived. The airlock closed. The station immediately resumed arguing with itself. Jace exhaled, floating slowly back toward the console, which had already started humming a suspicious tune. "Okay," he muttered, "that was new and statistically concerning." The console replied, "We prefer the term evolving." Jace groaned. "Of course you do." The station began behaving differently after Viral stayed. Not in any dramatic, explosion-filled way. That would have been easier. Instead, everything became subtly more organized, like reality itself had been mildly scolded and decided to improve its posture. Malfunctioning doors opened on time. The gravity hiccuped less often. Even the ever-anxious alarm reduced its chirping schedule from every 7 minutes to every 9, as if it had enrolled in anger management. Jace noticed first when a wrench stopped trying to escape his toolbox. "It's weird," he said, watching it hover calmly. "Everything feels supervised." The wrench paused midair as if considering that accusation, then gently rotated itself and returned to its compartment. "Yeah," Jace added, "definitely supervised." Viral was usually found in panel Bay 12, where she had established what she called a temporary observation station, which Jace translated as Judgment Corner. She didn't sit. She didn't lean, she simply stood, perfectly still, watching systems unfold like she was reading a language everyone else had forgotten how to hear. "Your maintenance protocols remain inefficient," she said one day without looking up. Jace, hanging upside down again because gravity had filed a complaint against him personally, replied, "And yet I remain alive. which is my favorite kind of efficiency. One of her long ears flicked. Survival is not the highest metric. That depends on who's doing the surviving, Jace said. If I stop surviving, I stop getting paid, and then I stop buying coffee, and then civilization collapses. So technically, I am infrastructure. A maintenance drone drifted by and projected. This argument has been flagged as socially dangerous but philosophically entertaining. Viral ignored it. She was getting better at ignoring things. Jace was beginning to worry that this might be contagious. Her presence attracted attention from the rest of the station quickly. Not fear, not exactly. More like confusion mixed with admiration and a little bit of we don't want to be the ones who talk to her first. Crew members began adjusting their behavior whenever she passed. One engineer started walking straighter. Another stopped yelling at machines and began whispering politely instead, which caused several systems to improve out of sheer discomfort. Jace called it the viral effect. Viral called it irrelevant, which made it sound even more powerful. One cycle later, a transmission arrived. It did not come with urgency flags. It did not need them. The entire station felt it the moment the signal entered orbit, like a pressure change in the bones of space. Jace was mid-repair when every console simultaneously went silent. Then one by one they activated in synchronized alignment. A symbol appeared across every screen. XALTHEREAN High Council Authority. Jace slowly lowered his wrench. Oh no, Viral did not move, but her ears did, just slightly. That was enough. The voice that followed was calm, layered, and unpleasantly patient. Commander Viral, you are instructed to cease independent field evaluation and prepare for directive assimilation protocol regarding Human Sector 12. Compliance is expected. Deviation is logged as treason-class behavioral variance. Jace whispered, treason class sounds like a very expensive hotel room. No one laughed, even the station didn't. Viral raised her hand, interfacing instantly with the transmission stream. Her voice was controlled, but Jace noticed something new in it, less certainty, more calculation. I request clarification of assimilation parameters, she said. A pause, then the council responded. Human systems will be integrated, non-compliant infrastructure will be repurposed or dissolved. Emotional variance is classified as instability. Jace leaned closer to a console. Did they just call emotions illegal? Because that seems ambitious. One of the consoles beeped sadly as if remembering its feelings. Viral's ears angled backward for the first time since she arrived. That classification is flawed, she said. Correct, the council replied. Correction is not required. Jace muttered, I hate when bureaucracy thinks it's physics. The transmission ended. Silence returned, heavier than before. For a long moment, Viral did not speak. Jace tried to fill the gap. Okay, so on the bright side, at least they gave us a heads up before whatever that was. They are preparing a fleet deployment, Viral said quietly. Oh, Jace replied. So that was the heads up. Yes. That feels like a worse heads up than usual. Viral turned slightly toward him. Her expression was still composed, but her ears betrayed her, angled, tense, listening to something far beyond the station. You are not authorized for involvement in Zalthurian strategic conflict, she said. Jace nodded. Good, I wasn't planning on being emotionally authorized for it either. This is not a matter of preference. It rarely is, Jace said. That's kind of my whole career. A silence followed. Then Viral did something unusual. She sighed. It was subtle, almost mechanical, but real enough that the maintenance drone immediately flagged it as a rare atmospheric event. I will need to report, she said. Jace raised an eyebrow. Report what? That you found humans mildly annoying but structurally resistant to extinction? That you have interfered with operational integrity? He pointed at himself. Me, I barely interfere with toast when it burns itself. Her ears flicked. You have altered my observational parameters. That sounds like a compliment with legal consequences. It is neither. Jace floated closer, pushing off a panel. Hey, if your bosses are about to turn Earth into a managed emotional zone or whatever they're calling it, maybe I should start worrying? Yes, that was too immediate. Yes, he blinked. You're getting better at this honesty thing. I am not practicing it voluntarily. That's usually how it starts. Viral looked away for the first time since arriving on the station. Out past the transparent hull plating, the distant curve of space stretched like a silent warning. Her ears lowered slightly. "They will not tolerate deviation," she said. "My presence here has already been flagged." Jace tried to joke, but it came out softer than intended. "So what, you're like interstellar paperwork violation now?" "Yes, that's kind of impressive. It is punishable." "Also impressive," he added. A pause, then Viral spoke again, quieter. "You should not be near me when they arrive." Jace shrugged. "I've been near worse things. Once a vending machine tried to unionize against me. This is not comparable." "It kind of is, emotionally." Her gaze returned to him. For a moment the station noise seemed to fade. Even the consoles stopped pretending to be alive. "You do not understand the scale of what is coming," she said. Jace nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's fair." Then, after a beat. "But I understand when someone's about to get dragged off by their bosses for being slightly too human adjacent." Her ears twitched sharply at that phrase. He continued, "And I also understand that if I leave you alone with a galactic council full of people who think emotions are a software bug, you're going to have a really bad time." Viral didn't respond immediately, which for her was practically emotional chaos. The station hummed softly. Somewhere a door opened and closed for no reason other than suspense. Finally she said, "You are not required to involve yourself." Jace smiled faintly. "Yeah, I know." Another pause, then he added, "But I kind of already did. I fixed your docking authorization before you even arrived. Technically, you've been illegally standing in my problem since day one." That earned the smallest possible shift in her expression, almost a smile. Almost, her ears tilted slightly forward. "That is not how jurisdiction works," she said. "On Earth it is," Jace replied. "We're very flexible with rules. It's why we survive so many things trying to kill us." The distant alarm chirped once, then thought better of it and stopped. Viral lifted her hand again, opening a private channel to the council relay. Her fingers paused just before activation. Then she looked at Jace. For the first time, her voice softened into something less formal. "I will be reassigned," she said. Jace nodded. "Probably a beat." Then she added, quieter still, "And you will remain." He scratched the back of his helmet. "That's usually how station-based employment works, yeah." Her ears lowered again, but not in discipline this time, something closer to reluctance. The channel opened. The council awaited. And Viral, standing between command and something she did not yet have a word for, spoke. But the first word she chose was not protocol. It was his name. The council did not arrive with sirens or dramatic planetary shadows. That would have been too honest. Instead, space simply rearranged itself. That was the official phrase the station AI used, spoken in a tone that suggested it was trying not to panic while actively updating its will. One moment, the dock was alone in the quiet stretch of orbit above the human sector. The next, it was surrounded by geometry that did not belong to any known navigation chart, vast Zalthurian command vessels folding into existence like thoughts too large to be comfortable. Jace stared through the hull glass. "Okay, I'm officially upgrading this to unpleasantly crowded." A maintenance drone floated beside him and projected, "Crowd density, apocalyptic." "Yeah," Jace said, "that tracks." Behind him, Viral stood at the central console. Not perfectly still this time. Not entirely composed. Her long ears were angled forward, then sideways, then slightly back again, like they were trying to listen to 3 different futures at once and none of them were giving good customer service. "You should leave," she said. Jace didn't look away from the ships. "You said that already. I am repeating it for emotional emphasis. That's new for you. It is not intentional. Still counts." A pause stretched between them. Outside, Zalthurian vessels completed formation. A command signal pulsed through the station, locking every system into remote obedience. Consoles dimmed, doors sealed, gravity stabilized out of sheer fear. Then the council spoke directly into the station. "Commander Viral, you are ordered to disengage from human sector assets and submit for compliance recalibration." Jace leaned closer to a console that immediately pretended not to exist. "Compliance recalibration sounds like something you do to a broken toaster, not a person." Viral raised her hand. Her interface unfolded, but it flickered. For the first time, the system did not respond immediately. Jace noticed it. So did she. Her ears tightened. They have restricted my access, she said quietly. Wow, Jace replied. Even your bosses are good at awkward breakups. The council continued. Your deviations have been classified as cognitive contamination. You will be extracted. Jace raised a hand. Quick question, does extracted mean like medically or violently? Because those have very different insurance requirements. No response. That was their answer. The station shuddered as external clamps engaged. Massive docking tendrils from the Zalthurian fleet latched onto the structure like iron vines, deciding the concept of ownership was now physical law. Alarms finally did what they had always wanted to do. They screamed. The station AI announced, in a voice now 2 octaves higher than before, I regret all design choices that led to this moment. Same, Jace muttered. Viral stepped away from the console. For the first time since she arrived, she looked less like an observer and more like someone standing inside a decision she could not reverse. They will remove me from command, she said. Jace finally turned toward her. Yeah, that seems to be their hobby. Her ears dipped. And they will proceed with assimilation protocol. Still not a great hobby. A silence. Then she said it again, softer. I should not have remained here. Jace floated a little closer. You know, I've noticed aliens are really into shoulds, like it's a competitive sport. That is not, he interrupted gently. Hey, look at me. She did. Her eyes held the same precision they always had, but now something else was layered underneath it. Something unstable, something real. Jace pointed toward the fleet outside. So those guys think emotions are a system error, right? Yes. And they're about to delete a whole civilization because of that? Yes, he nodded slowly. Cool, just wanted to make sure I'm not misunderstanding the vibe. Viral's ears twitched once. You cannot stop them, she said. Probably not, Jace agreed. But I can be annoying about it. That earned the smallest sound from her, not quite a laugh, but close enough that the station AI immediately logged it as rare emotional anomaly, possibly dangerous. The council issued the final directive. Extraction authorized. The fleet moved, not firing yet, not destroying yet, just certainty closing in like a law of physics that had stopped pretending to be neutral. Inside the station, systems began to detach control from human access. Doors locked. Gravity shifted. Even the air recyclers began whispering apologies as they severed local permissions. Viral lifted her hand again. This time nothing responded. She lowered it. For the first time she looked small. Jace noticed that too, and it bothered him more than the fleet. He floated beside her console. Okay, he said, I have a plan. You do not have clearance for plans? I've never had clearance for anything. It's kind of my signature style. Her ears angled slightly toward him. What is your plan? Jace tapped the console. We give them something they don't understand. That is not a plan. It is if you're creative and slightly irresponsible. The station AI chimed in. Historically, that has been his method. Thank you, Jace said. Viral watched him carefully. Explain, he pointed at the fleet control signal. They think your system is perfect, controlled, predictable. Yes, but it's not, Jace said, because you've been here. A pause, then her ears tilted. That is not a tactical advantage. It is if you realize something important, he said. He turned toward her fully. You didn't corrupt me, Jace said. You did contaminate anything. You just showed up in a system that already had glitches and made them talk to each other. Viral didn't respond, because for the first time she wasn't calculating. She was listening. Jace continued, and now their perfect system is going to meet ours. And ours is held together by tape, sarcasm, and one very angry coffee machine that I still owe money to. The coffee machine beeped in agreement from somewhere deep in the station. Viral's ears lowered slightly. That is not sufficient to resist a fleet. Probably not, Jace said, then he shrugged. But it might be sufficient to confuse them for long enough that they make a mistake. A beat. The council began final approach procedures. Viral looked at Jace. You are suggesting improvisation against strategic assimilation doctrine. Yeah, that is irrational. Yeah, her ears flicked. It is also consistent with your behavior. Yeah, a pause, then she said something that changed everything. I cannot access command authority. Jace nodded, I noticed. But I still retain, she hesitated. Local system adjacency. That sounds like legal loophole language. It is, Jace grinned. Perfect, we love loopholes. Outside, Zalthurian vessels prepared extraction beams. Inside, Viral reached out not to command systems but to something smaller. The station itself. The unstable, argumentative, slightly sentient infrastructure she had once dismissed as inefficient. And for the first time she didn't try to correct it. She spoke to it, not in orders, in understanding. "Will you cooperate?" she asked. The station paused, then replied, "Define cooperation." Jace whispered, "Oh, this is going to work or end everything. No in between." Viral's ears lifted slightly. "I define cooperation as mutual survival," she said. The station processed. Then responded, "Agreed, I like survival." Every console in the station lit up, not under council control. Under hers, not perfectly, not cleanly, but enough. Jace whooped. "That's my girl, I mean that's diplomatically excellent timing." Viral shot him a look that contained confusion, alarm, and something dangerously close to warmth. The station AI added, "Romantic subtext detected. Priority secondary." "Not now," both of them said at once. Outside, the Zalthurian fleet initiated extraction. Inside, the station responded by doing the one thing it had always done best. It misbehaved at scale. Gravity inverted across 3 decks, docking clamps released in the wrong sequence. Communication channels looped council commands back into themselves with polite edits. One ship briefly received instructions to reflect on its decisions and entered a holding pattern out of pure existential confusion. Jace floated through the chaos, laughing. "Okay, we are officially weaponizing incompetence." Viral moved with him, guiding systems not like a commander but like someone teaching a stubborn animal to stop biting reality. The fleet hesitated, not destroyed, not defeated, confused, and in that confusion the smallest gap appeared. Viral saw it. So did Jace. Together, without coordination, without protocol, they pushed the station through it. The dock slipped free of the extraction field, spinning gently into open orbit like a badly thrown idea that somehow survived. Behind them, the fleet did not pursue immediately. Because for the first time, it had encountered something it did not classify correctly. The council transmission returned, unstable. "Commander Viral, you have committed irreparable deviation." Viral looked at the screen. Her ears were steady now. Not obedient, not fearful, present. "I am aware," she said. Jace leaned beside her. "You gonna get in trouble?" "Yes." "Bad trouble?" "Yes." He nodded. "Cool, I've always wanted to date someone in interstellar legal trouble." "Seems exciting." She blinked. "Date?" He coughed. That was not the planned sentence, that was stress speech. A pause, then unexpectedly her ears tilted slightly forward. "I do not know what that means," she said. Jace smiled. "I'll explain later, probably during repairs, or while we're running from more fleets. We're flexible like that." The station drifted farther from the fleet, not safe, not resolved, but free in a way neither of them fully understood yet. The council did not follow, not because it couldn't, but because its systems were still arguing with themselves about what had just happened. Inside the dock, alarms finally quieted, not because everything was fixed, but because, for once, nothing agreed on what needed fixing. Viral stood beside Jace. Her ears no longer pointed toward command signals, they pointed toward him.